Okay, finally for this unit, a few concluding thoughts. One thing that's often said in terms of doing a presentation, a speech, whatever, stand up, speak up, shut up. In other words, stand up. When you stand, approach the stage confidently. That gives a strong first impression. You sort of wander and crawl onto the stage. People are going to wonder, is this really going to be worthwhile? Then when you speak loudly and clearly. Again, if you're sort of mumbling, nobody's going to pay attention to you, nobody's going to hear you, you won't keep their attention. And then finally, when it's time to be over, finish. Don't keep going on. Don't finish too early. Generally aim for within 1 minute before the time is up, so you use the whole time, but don't go over the time limit. When they say time is up, finish.
Especially when time is up, the audience hear the ring. They are ready to move on. And if you keep talking and talking, it's not effective at all.
That's true, because they're thinking, why are you wasting time? Why are you cutting into the next person's time or whatever else? They're not listening to you anymore.
It's just like in the class, when the bell rings, ding dong, meaning the class is over. So the professor should shut up and let the students move on.
Right, because they're already packing up their bags anyway. Okay, but when you do get to that point, make sure you leave enough time at the end for a strong conclusion. You can have it as a good summary, summarizing the main points that the audience should take away. It should connect the beginning and the end. Whether you began with a question, show them the answer. If you began, as iGEM often does, with a problem, remind them of the solution. And remember that you're trying to meet the judging criteria. So this may be a time to wrap up how you have met those judging criteria after talking about all the details of your project. And then finally, the ending slide. I have seen so many bad ending slides. People that say, thanks for your listening. Thanks you for your listening. Thanks for attention. Thank you with a capital U. Thanks for listen. All of these are grammatically incorrect. Don't use them. There are a number of things that are okay. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening. Thanks for your attention. Thank you. All of those are acceptable. You can choose, but make sure you stay away from the ungrammatical ones. Another hint that you can use, sometimes you think you may want to use this slide, but you're not really sure. Or you think that the judges might ask a question about more details about something, but you don't want to show it in the main presentation. Sometimes put those as extra slides at the end. But a much better idea is to put them in the presentation along with the other related slides and use what's called hide slide. Again, that's on the slideshow menu, and you hide the slide. It still shows in your sidebar, but it doesn't show, it just skips over that when you're doing your presentation. But that makes it easy to find if you're asked a question about that. And make sure that you use slide numbers. Slide numbers make it very helpful for your audience, whether it's your committee or whether it's the judges, to refer back. Can you go back to slide 5? Sure. And you can go back to slide 5 very rapidly. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But if you don't have that, then they'll be trying to describe, remember that slide that showed the graph about it wastes your time, it wastes their time. Using the slide numbers really helps.
And it doesn't look professional if you try to find a slide like, where is it?
Right. And a lot of people also will go out of the slideshow, exit, and then they look down the side, and then they go back in. So how do you avoid that? Well, there are two ways. If you have a slide number and you're in slideshow mode, all you have to do is push the number of the slide. They say, can you go back to slide 12? 12, enter. And it will go automatically to that slide. Now this only works in the slideshow mode. It doesn't work if you're doing it with a PDF file from PowerPoint. So that's why it's important, if you can, use the actual PowerPoint when you're doing the presentation. The other way that you can move to it is if they don't remember the slide number, but they know what it was about. Then again, when you're in the slideshow, if you hit Control S, every place else that's save. But within the PowerPoint, Control S, show, and it will show just on your screen, not on the presentation screen, a little box that lists the titles of all the slides. And if you have used that title box effectively, and they say, can you go back to the graph about this? And you remember what the title of that slide was, you can simply scroll down this and hit that number, and again, it will go back to that slide. This makes it look very professional. It also saves you time and energy because you don't have to think about finding that slide. And then, what was the question again? You just say, can you go to slide 12? 12, enter, what's your question? You're already there and they can be referring to the slide while they're asking the question and while you're responding to it. So this is a very effective tool. Now, in terms of questions, this is closely related to the topic of the next unit, and so we'll talk more about questions when we talk in the next unit about posters and displays, which are basically a question and answer format. So we'll talk more about that then. But in concluding here, remember, be confident. You are the expert. Nobody knows your topic any better than you do. Even the experts in the field don't know your particular topic any better than you do. So speak confidently. And in terms of the PowerPoint presentations, you'll see people that do something in a PowerPoint, you say, wow, how did you do that? Well, ask, and they will probably be quite willing to tell you. That's how I learned a lot of the principles that I've shared in this unit. And you can do the same thing. As PowerPoint continues to evolve and change, there will be new things and you can learn them just by asking.